Here we go. Okay, so it is being recorded as of now. And the second thing is to say, I think most of you will be aware that in Zoom, we have the chat function. So that's those three dots that Chris spoke about a moment ago. If you go there, the top line of the box that opens or the window that opens is chat. And you can type in any questions or comments or anything like that into the chat as we go. And we're going to hopefully have a good period of time at the end to respond to questions and pick up on some of those comments. So I would value all the feedback that you have, any questions or maybe comments that help us to even better understand the subject that we're talking about tonight. So we'll give it a few more minutes for the rest of those who have signed up to arrive in the room, and then we'll get started. So thank you, those of you that have arrived, and in fact arrived on time and early. I'm very grateful for your participation in this webinar, which is the first one I've done since I think this time last year, when I did a different version of the total webinar that we're actually introducing tonight, or the course that we're introducing tonight, called How to Tame Your Dragon. I think, in fact, I think the last one that I did was the Making Marriage Fun course, which was done on Facebook, and then before that I did the other webinar on the subject of the Bible and COVID, or COVID and the end times, as Christians are fond of calling it. All right, so welcome once again to those who have arrived since we welcomed the first arrivers, the early adopters. And once again, just to encourage you, anything that you have as a question or a comment, please type it into the chat and in the chat box, and we will get to those after I've given you this brief introduction to the course called How to Tame Your Dragon. The screen at a certain point now is going to be what is called shared, which means that you will be seeing the screen of the PowerPoint slides that are going to be hopefully helpful for understanding and opening up the topic even more. Okay, so the other thing that we need here is which screen I'm seeing, the person on the screen that I'm seeing. Not sure why that is.
Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, bear with us.
Okay, doesn't matter. All right. So our subject for tonight is the introductory webinar to a course called How to Tame Your Dragon. And I had a certain person in my life asking me to please emphasize that this is not a course about marriage. The title has nothing at all to do with wives or husbands. It's a course in self-esteem, mind renewal, and emotional intelligence. The little abbreviation EQ stands for emotional intelligence, as opposed to IQ, which is, of course, just about intelligence in general. And so the course was really designed around helping people to change the way they think, and particularly the way they think about themselves, which is the issue of self-concept and self-esteem, which is, by the way, as we'll see in the course itself, responsible for probably about 95% of the dysfunction in people's, particularly relationships, as well as things like, obviously, performance in every area of their lives. And so, the third area that we deal with in the course is emotional intelligence. And you'll see what emotional intelligence means as we unpack it on the course itself. But it essentially has to do with accurate self-awareness, and then together with that, the ability to show empathy toward others. And in other words, to be relationally skilled as well as skilled in self-awareness. My Greek forebear Socrates said that the beginning of knowledge is to know thyself. I say in the course that, in fact, there are 4 things that you need to do about yourself. Those things are, firstly, know yourself. The second one is accept yourself. The third is to love yourself. And there is a very specific form of love that we talk about in the course, which is not sentimental, but active. And the third, or rather the fourth word, is to lead yourself. And lead yourself has to do with the idea of management. It has to do with the idea of self-control and the ability to interact from that strong base with others in the world, with time, with your work situation, with all relationships. I should have added probably a fifth thing to do with myself, and that is something that I believe it was C.S. Lewis or one of those authors wrote about, which is to forget yourself. Once you have got the basis of accurate self-awareness and acceptance and healthy self-love or self-esteem, then you need to forget yourself and then give yourself away. To love is the summary of everything that we were put on earth to do. But for many people, the knowledge they have of themselves is distorted. They have a false knowledge of themselves. They see themselves through a distorted mirror. They take on a distorted identity. They operate from a distorted operating system, for those of you who think in terms of computers. When I speak to people about everything, whether it's their work situation, whether it's their disorder, whether it's a problem that they're having, whether it's a habitual way of behaving, they will very often respond with the line, "It's just who I am." And I believe that the first thing that we need to understand is that no behavior and no attitude defines you. That is not who you are. That is simply a pattern or a habit that you have developed. And a habit, as we're going to see in the course itself, is something that you can unlearn and replace with better habits. And so don't use the idea of a lack of self-knowledge and just excuse it or just become peaceful with it by saying, that's just who I am. I am just an introvert. I am just pessimistic. That's just who I am. You can change all of those things. You can change from weakness to strength. You can change from victimhood to being victorious. You can change from dysfunctionality to proper function in every aspect of your life. Even things like discourtesy and social awkwardness are things that can be overcome if you have the will to do them and if you know the ways in which you have gained habits and therefore are able to change habits. Even things like abusive behavior, patterns and habits of speaking in wrong terms, using the kind of language that is abusive and that is emotionally manipulative over people, can change. We can change. And as we said in advertising this webinar, you can change your life by changing your mind, by changing the way you think. Many people will resonate with a line in the writings of the Apostle Paul, who said, I have the desire to do what is good, but I cannot carry it out. For I do not do the good I want to do, but the evil that I do not want to do is what I do. This I keep on doing. That is the dilemma of many people. There's a sense of, I know what I ought, but that's not what I am. So what is your dragon? When we talk about the dragon, what do we mean? The fact is that there are at least two versions of you. The first one is the reasoned, rational, responsible you. The you that is contained in what is called the prefrontal cortex, the rational aspect, the logical part of your brain, the ability to think through things, weigh them up, and then make good, rational, responsible decisions. The other part of you is the reactionary you, the impulsive you. And this is where we get the word, the limbic or the lizard brain. This is the way that authors on the subject of emotional intelligence have called it. They regard it, or they understand it as they relate it to the lizard, because the lizard's brain is not big enough to have a prefrontal cortex. And so the lizard simply responds or reacts in impulsive and instinctive ways to things around it. And the fact of the matter is, humans have a portion of their brain that is exactly like that lizard's brain. It is reactive, it is impulsive, it is instinctive, and it contains the best of you as well as the worst of you. You'll see if you sign up for the course, the fact that the dragon or the lizard brain is responsible for reactions that happen sometimes up to 15 seconds before your conscious mind becomes aware of them. It is so fast that it enables people to do amazing things. For example, on the sports field, the ability to anticipate where a ball is going to be, the ability to swivel and turn and put your body in the right kind of composition so that you can be effective and successful on the sports field. All of those, as well as things like reacting quickly to a situation when you're driving, reacting quickly to something where a child is in danger and you need to rescue them, the ability to be heroic. Many heroic things that have happened in history have been a response, an instinctive response by someone to a situation in front of them. They will often afterwards testify to the fact, I didn't really even think, I just did, and I responded. The other side, the worst side of you that is also contained in the dragon or the lizard brain is the part of you that is equally responsible for sometimes cowardly reactions. I think of that scene from the movie The Titanic, which was when the person, as they were going toward the lifeboats, literally climbed over the women so that he could take his place in the lifeboat, and then refused to remove himself. You think about moments of violence, of losing your temper. I think about what happened at the Oscars a week or so ago when Will Smith did what he did, an instinctive, out of control response to something. And whatever the pros and cons of the action itself, the fact is that it was not a controlled response. It was out of control. Avoidance kinds of responses. Lying, many times, is simply an instinctive way to try to get out of trouble. The center that experiences emotions and reactions in your brain and then reacts to them is the lizard or the dragon brain. And we're going to talk about the way in which that dragon controls us. They speak in the books on emotional intelligence about the 6 F's that the dragon is, or the lizard brain is responsible for. And they are fear, first and foremost, the fear response, and then reactions to that fear, like to freeze, which is incapacitating, paralyzing emotion that makes you unable to act or even think. The flee response, the flight response, is the other way that people react to fear. To escape from a bad situation or something that you see as threatening is another one of the F's. The next one that comes to my mind is to fight, to lash out, to take the Will Smith option. I remember my father teaching me when I was a child and I was experiencing being bullied, and my dad said, my boy, the thing to do is hit him first, hit him before he hits you. And that became a little bit of a mantra that I carried. I was small, I was a late developer, and I learned that. And I actually won some fights against bigger guys because of the instinct to hit first and ask questions afterwards. I'm not recommending it, I'm just describing my situation. The next one is the word feed. There are many people for whom, when they are experiencing an emotion that is bad or that is hard to process, will use food as a means of comfort or as a means of escape, once again, from the paralysis that they've been experiencing. And so satisfying appetites, physical or emotional, through food is another response. And then there is the word that has come up a little bit sooner than anticipated, fornicate. And that is using sexual activity as a means of self-comforting, affirmation, or sometimes just for fun. And that brings me to the fact that the dragon in your mind that reacts so instinctively and so quickly, all of these reactions are involuntary, reactionary. They are essential for survival or happiness. So that's why we talk about taming the dragon, because the fact is, all of those things are not necessarily bad. The ways in which we react to them can be very bad, but the feelings themselves and even the engagement with a normal, natural responses to them. For example, the whole idea of sexual interaction between married partners. All of those things are important to be able to express in healthy ways under control. But on the other hand, if the dragon operates out of control, if it operates in out of control ways often enough, they will become addictions, dysfunctions, or disorders. And everything from phobias that people experience to things like anxiety reactions, panic disorders, eating disorders, all of those things are ways in which people have tried to dumb down or to distract or to reduce the power of the dragon in their brains. Habits, which are the things that we're talking about here, the things that have been repeated often enough, have developed as a result of a thing called spaced repetition. I remember years ago hearing about a dog that was in a backyard in Alaska. and the backyard was fenced off, and this dog used to exercise in that yard. Every day it would be let out by its owners, and it would run the borders of the fence, inside the borders of the fence, in a square or a rectangle. And the dog would just do that all day long, all day long. And then one day the dog was doing that, or woke up in the morning, went outdoors, and there had been 6 feet of snow. And so the fence was no longer visible. And you know how that dog ran that day? Same pattern as it had been running for all that time before, in the spring and the summer and the autumn. In other words, the fence was no longer visible to the dog, but the fence was now in the dog's brain. And so these are spaced repetition power, the power of spaced repetition that causes people to actually bring things that are not really limiting, to bring them into their brains. They create limiting beliefs. They create limiting patterns or habits of behavior. The effect of all of this is that we have, it's like this beaker or this jar of water. The cold water of negativity that has sometimes filled the brains of many people. How do we change that water? How do we get rid of it? If you just knock the jar over, you could eliminate all of the water in one go. The fact of the matter is that that's tantamount to kind of a nervous breakdown. It's a crisis reaction to the feeling of negativity that has built up over the years through spaced repetition. And so the alternative to that is what I call the law of displacement. There was another famous Greek called Archimedes, who got into the bath one day and found that the water spilled over the sides, and he described this law that every body that is inserted into a liquid is able to displace its exact volume of that liquid out of the container. And so if you think about it from that point of view, the way that your habits, your mental habits, your attitudes, ways of reacting have been formed is by spaced repetition. And so what we will do in the course is show you how to use that same power of spaced repetition to displace the cold water of negativity, and instead of having that cold water of negativity, to have some good thoughts, some good habits, some things that are the real truth rather than the distorted lies that you have very often been fed over the course of your life and upbringing. Remember this, you are not born with any habits. You were born in a way with some predispositions and some and DNA and skills and talents, but you've acquired those habits of thought by hearing things, repeating them to yourself, and ultimately believing what has shaped your thinking and your behavior. And that is the good news as well as the bad news. It's bad news in that you've got a lot of negativity, you've got a lot of stuff that has been poured into your brain, but it's good news from this point of view. Whatever has been formed can be transformed. And that's what the course is designed to teach you how to do. The course, called How to Tame Your Dragon, is focused on just what the title says, recognizing that you need the dragon, because the dragon is responsible for fun and spontaneity and for those instinctive skills that we talked about, whether on the sports field or survival skills, or the ability to stay alive on the sometimes dangerous roads that we drive on. But at the same time, what needs to happen is you need to tame the dragon. You need to bring the dragon under your control so that you can use its strengths rather than let it control you. So there are 6 things that you'll learn on the course. And I'll tell you the details of the course in a moment, the outline of the course, but there are 6 things that you're going to learn. The first one is seeing, clarifying, and coloring in your vision for your best life. Many people are living without a sense of purpose, without a sense of vision, without a sense of the person that I can become. They don't allow themselves to even believe that they could become something, someone. They have limited themselves to just the here and now. And so the first thing that we'll talk about is recovering the sense, the ability to dream a dream and to capture a vision for the you that you were born and made to be. God has a great purpose for your life, and we want to encourage you and give you skills and give you some ways in which you can engage with that purpose and articulate it, and then be determined about pursuing that. Where there is no vision, people cast off restraint. They run off in all directions. But having vision is a tree of life, on the other hand. And so the second thing that we will learn is cultivating a habit of mindfulness, which is another word for accurate self-awareness. Self-awareness not only of yourself in terms of your externals, but in terms of your emotional life, in terms of your spiritual and intellectual realities, and again, using those things to be able to enact the vision that you are heading towards. The third skill that we'll talk about is writing your story, which is another word for the art of journaling. Being able to write your story is the thing that empowers you to deal with things like trauma, things like memories of emotional trauma and occurrences that have instilled fears in you. You can deal with them through journaling, through making them into an object rather than a subject, making them, putting them under your control rather than, again, allowing them to control you. All of those are actually putting a bridle in the mouth of the dragon, so that emotion can be a powerful motivator in your life. You recognize that the word emotion and motivation come from the same root, and they have to do with moving the insides of a person so that they can live on purpose. Fourthly, the fourth skill that we'll talk about and learn is the thing that I spoke about a moment ago: displacing and reformatting your attitudes through the development and the regular practice of affirmations, speaking your real truth, speaking the story of your life, the truth about your life, rather than the limiting beliefs and wrong beliefs that you have acquired over the years. There is life and death in the power of the tongue. And so when we start to speak the things that are supposed to be true about us, we start to see change. We start to see belief grow in our hearts and minds. And that brings me to the next skill that we'll talk about, which is writing your story, your history in advance through goal setting and planning for those goals to be accomplished in your life. And I know some of you are saying, well, I'm already well advanced in years. Why do I still need to be setting goals? The answer to that is there is no such thing as the end of the story before the end. As the young man said in that movie about a hotel in India, if things have not yet worked out, it's because it is not yet the end. We are heading towards a good end, but you are the person who's responsible to take hold of that and to press forward to what lies ahead. And so we'll talk about how to do that on a daily basis for goals that may be quite small, but will set you on the right course for living positively. And then the last skill that we'll talk about is the development and building up of empathy and accountability. In other words, living in the context of others, living with others in mind, living with consideration and with care toward the people in your life. Something that will make you a more emotionally intelligent person, that will increase the charm that you think you already have. I know that most of you are charming, nice people, but we can all do with polishing our charm and being nicer even than we have been up to now. The ability to give and receive love depends on this thing called emotional intelligence. The truth is, until you really learn to love yourself properly, you cannot give love. And the other side of it is equally true. You cannot receive love. You will sabotage other people's attempts to love you. And so building empathy and accountability enables you to have great relationships at home, at work, and in your social world. And so the course called How to Tame Your Dragon will change your life by changing your mind. And we can give you those tools for doing all of that in 6 weeks. That's what the course, that's the duration of the course that we are going to be releasing with a very special offer tonight. And so I want to tell you in the next few minutes what the format of the course is. It covers the topics that I've talked about in sequence over 5 weeks. And those 5 weeks, each of them have 4 videos. So there will be a total of 20 video recordings or video segments that will be sessions that will give you the information as well as the practical skills to be able to implement that information. And together with the videos, you will receive the course notes, and those course notes include things like instruments for understanding yourself, for deciding or finding out whether you're introverted, extroverted, what are your strengths, what are the things that you need to work on. And by the way, all of those, the videos themselves, as well as the comprehensive course notes, are yours not only to keep, but to use in, for example, small groups or families. So you can duplicate and you can use them. You can't, of course, forward the videos to anyone else. They are yours to use, but the course notes you can duplicate and use with other people if you desire to do that. So the course is the information as well as practical techniques for your improvement of your emotional intelligence, goal setting, as well as your overall life improvement. The videos I'm very proud of the quality of the videos that you're going to receive. They're really professional, and I know that you're going to enjoy just interacting with them, because they in themselves will inspire excellence. And you'll get a certificate of completion if you get to the end of the course and complete the exercises that are suggested there. So with each course purchase, you will also receive a free copy of my book, Learn to Love Yourself. Now, for those of you who know this book, you may be interested to know that this is a 3rd edition, and so it has 2 extra chapters, which deals with the science of emotional intelligence, the neuroscience of emotional intelligence, as well as some of these ways in which we can grow in our emotional intelligence. And you will get the book in a couple of different formats. You could get it for free as a Kindle book or as a PDF file that will be sent to you. Or you can get a hard copy and all you pay for is shipping, packaging and shipping. And so that will be, the details of that will be in the purchase process as you get to there, which we'll talk about in a moment. You will also get reduced prices on all future courses. So becoming a lifelong member of the Costa Mitchell coaching community will entitle you to discounts on the future courses. There are 2 other courses that will be released during this year, and then others as they arise, but you will get reduced prices for those. In addition, if you purchase the course, you will also get access to Q&A sessions. So at the end of every month, starting from this week, at the end of April, and then at the end of May, end of June, end of July, there will be Q&A sessions where anything that has arisen in your going through the course that you would like to discuss, we will have an open forum like this one that we're in tonight, where you will be able to ask your questions. If you want to ask them privately, you can do that through the chat. If you want to ask them openly in the forum, we will have a good half an hour or 40 minutes where we will be able to do that. In addition to that, you will also get access to a coaching community. A coaching community that will be, again, open forum for people to talk about their process, their progress in their life story, both through coaching as well as through the courses, as well as just through living life in the way that they are choosing to do. And more than this, you will also have the opportunity for what is called a discovery coaching session with me. That means you have a one-on-one call, whether it's on Zoom or on WhatsApp or on any other platform, where you, for an hour, we can talk about you and you can ask questions about coaching, and we will find out if one-on-one coaching is in fact indicated as a helpful process for you to engage in going forward in your transformational journey. And so I'm very excited to be able to offer you these specials as a part of this opening, this launch of How to Tame Your Dragon. If you purchase by the course by Monday, which is the 11th of April, instead of the normal price of 3,000 Rand, you will get the course for 2,000 Rand. That's 1/3 discount. For our friends in the United States, that is instead of $205, it is a nice round number of $140. For those in the United Kingdom, instead of a matter of £159, you can get the course for £105. And by the way, Australians who will probably only see this video on YouTube later, instead of 181 Australian dollars, the course is available to you if you buy by Monday for 124 Australian dollars. So those are the terms, and in order to do that, you can go onto the website. These are the dates of the Q&A sessions that we will be having, and we'll announce the exact details and time closer to the moment. But the 26th of April, the 25th of May, the 30th of June, and the 26th of July are when we will have these other Q&A style webinars. And so if you want to purchase the course within the next while, it will be, first of all, it will be available to watch on YouTube. And we're doing that especially for the Aussies and the Kiwis, who for whom this moment is very early in the morning or late at night. It's like 3 a.m. So I didn't expect that even though they love me, they will be up for watching this at this time of night. So particularly for them, we will be posting it on YouTube, and it will be available by Saturday, the 9th. That is 2 days' time, and the same offers, the same price is available to those who watch on YouTube, especially by Monday. All right, and then this is how you do that. You can go to the website, www.costamitchell.com, and go to the courses tab. And if you click on that and then go to how to tame your dragon, it will take you to the portal where you place the order and then make your payment, and the course will be immediately accessible to you. And so I'm inviting you to be among the first to make use of this opportunity to get into a course called How to Tame Your Dragon. And I'm expecting stories from some of you that have perhaps struggled with some of the things that are very real effects of the habituation of dragon style thinking, which is essentially instinctive and reactionary thinking that has limited you, that has held you in check, that has made you, in fact, very often a victim of your circumstances, your past, and the way other people have treated you. And instead of that, I'm inviting you to a life of newfound freedom, where you are in charge of your own life rather than allowing forces that you didn't invite and that you don't enjoy to be playing that kind of role in the way that you live your life. And so overall, I'm inviting you to use whatever is available to you here to change and to live your best life. So thank you for listening once again. And if anyone, I think I saw a couple of things coming up on the chat, so we will take some time now to engage with some of those.
Can feed also be to feed your habit or addictions such as drinking, drugs, and shopping?
Ah, yes. There are many addictions. I mentioned that the dragon out of control leads very often to addictive patterns. And whether it's, a friend of mine in the US said, actually, everyone is addicted. It's only the substance that differs. So some people are addicted to alcohol or drugs, and others are addicted to shopping or gambling, and yet others are addicted to other patterns and lifestyle choices that they feel they are not in control of. And again, I really believe that if you look at the ways that people break addictions, the principles that we're going to be talking about in How to Tame Your Dragon are principles that are well tested in other, for example, 12-step programs, etc. So there are many ways in which you can package this, but the principles pretty much are the same. And they are also just, by the way, principles that are part of the ancient wisdom of the scriptures, and of God's revelation of how we are supposed to live this life. So the material will help you to do all of the above. Anyone else got a question? The videos?
Are they YouTube based or over the internet or CD based?
Answer?
They will be on the website. They're embedded.
They're embedded as JPEGs, MP4.
Yeah, MP4.
I think they're MP4 and they're on the internet, and so they're a simple download.
No, you don't download them, you watch them live.
Oh, you watch them live. I'm being corrected by people who are not technophobes like I am. Any other questions or responses, clarifications?
So are there certain times and dates for the videos?
No. When you have purchased the videos, you will be given a code and you will have them for watching anytime you want. And so the Q&A sessions are set times, but the videos themselves you go through at your own pace, anytime you choose they basically become your property from the moment you make the purchase.
Thank you.
Harpo Marx, is Harpo Marx in the room? Wow. He's getting quite old Harpo.
So apart from the Q&A sessions, the rest is self-study, right?
The rest is self-study. And but again, also at the same time, being part of the Costa Mitchell coaching community means that anytime you have a question about anything, you can just either send me an email or ask for a phone call or something. I'm available, obviously within the context of making sure that I'm not awake 24 hours a day, but I will be there for you to talk, to ask questions, to clarify things about your anything that strikes you through the process of the course.
In the Q&A sessions, will we be able to hear everyone's input? I have learned a lot from other people's stories and experiences in past seminars.
I would very much encourage that. I hope you all heard that question. In the Q&A sessions, will we be able to hear other people's questions and input? Because very often that's the place where we learn the most, is by other people's questions. And by the answer to those questions, and sometimes the interaction around a question like that. So I would very much encourage that we have open mic, that we have people putting up their hand, asking the question, and then for us to be able to interact live around those questions is a very, very powerful part of the education process in general, in this hybrid format that we're all working with in post-COVID. In fact, if anyone wants to ask a question verbally, now you can unmute yourself. I'm told you can unmute yourself if you want to ask a question.
Okay, so I will.
Okay. It's Harpo Marx.
Sorry, that's
that's who Harpo Marx is.
I have a little
Hi, Robbie.
funny side of me. So yes, sorry. You had mentioned that
What's the question?
I'm asking the question. Am
Sorry.
I on?
Wait, let me open this. Sorry.
Okay, sorry. So, repeat it, please.
Okay. You had mentioned that once we buy this course, buy into the course, we will be able to use it maybe to share with other people, like in a home group situation. Does that certificate sort of give us not a stamp of approval, but do you feel like we'll be able to run a Q&A ourselves if we were to teach what you teach? Does that make sense?
Yes, I think so. I would trust that anyone who completes the course will have at least enough information to be able to deal with the usual questions that would arise within the context of what has been taught. Especially, I forgot to mention that the book is covering exactly the same material, but in much more depth. And so I think if you have the book, which you get one copy of, you don't get copies in perpetuity, you understand, you get a yes. copy, and you'll be able to use that to kind of develop maybe a little more in-depth answers and discussion points for the use of the course in things like home groups.
Thank you. Good.
Christopher, for those that are not flush with money at this present moment, can one pay off the course in installments?
I think that's Yeah. That could be very easily done, Chris. Alan, unmute yourself.
There you go.
There we go.
Can you hear me? Loud and clear.
Yep.
If we buy one course, can Lily and I participate with one course, or do we have to buy 2 courses?
No, you can buy one.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Anyone else? There is a function that enables you to raise your hand in a virtual form. So if you have that, I think that will make you pop up on the screen. Or just unmute yourself and ask verbally. James, oh, that was just a heart. You sent me a heart. You said you love me. That's nice. Nice to see you, Jim. And anyone else?
How important would a course like this be for someone who wants to grow as a young leader or benefits?
Again, I think that the fundamentals of self-leadership or self-management are the basis for good leadership of others. So from that point of view, I believe that, in fact, the same Socrates that I started off with said, he who would move the world should first move himself. And I think we can apply that right across the board. Self-leadership is the beginning of good leadership in any other field, whether it's in our families, whether it's in at work, whether it's in church, whether it's in our community, our society. So I really do believe that the principles that we're talking about here are essential for not only leadership, but also self-care. In other words, sustainable leadership. I'm finding, and we hear stories virtually every week of leaders particularly in spiritual leadership, Christian leadership, who are failing because of not observing certain things of, principles of self-care. Whether that has to do with accountability, whether that has to do with sleeping patterns or time management or any of these things, I believe that self-care is a key to being able to be healthy, not only in ourselves, but in how we interact with other people. You know how often it is that here's how you empower the dragon and you make the dragon actually rampant in your life, is that you take on too much, you're overloaded, you are exhausted, emotionally and physically and mentally exhausted. All of those things lead to situations of anxiety, depression, the onset of all of those things. I always think of the example of the prophet Elijah, who, after he had won the greatest battle of his life, ran away and said, "Oh God, let me die." And largely because he had been awake for 36 hours, he hadn't had anything to eat, and he was basically drained and exhausted. And so you become irritable. I don't know if you're like me, but when you're overloaded and feeling out of control. I cannot tell you how many of my coaching clients will say this one thing. Their problem is this one thing. I feel overwhelmed. I feel out of control. And that is really what accounts for the majority of things that produce stress, anxiety, depression, irritability, breakdown in relationships. All of these things are the product of a lack of proper self-management. So I really believe that it's absolutely vital for healthy leadership, let alone healthy families, healthy relationships in families.
Not sure if this has been asked yet, but does the course have an expiration date?
No, the course does not have an expiration date. It is yours in perpetuity. I do have to apologize. I should have said this at the beginning. For those of you who will purchase the course and see a very different version of me, because all of that was filmed when I still had facial hair, and so I'm a bit worried that some people will go, hang on, who's this dude? But you will notice that by my hand gestures and my voice, it is me. But me before I was blackmailed by my wife into shaving my beard off, because she said she threatened me with kissing sanctions. She said until the beard comes off, no more kisses. So what are you going to do? Cut the thing off just before winter when you needed it. Jim and Linda, it is so nice to see you. Okay, just a note from our IT guys. You need to check your emails shortly after the webinar ends. So they will be sending, these dudes who know stuff like this, will be sending an email with a link and everything that you need to know about engaging going forward from here. And if you don't see it, there will be another one sent on Saturday. I'm not sure why they are telling me that, which is, I don't know. But anyway, but between 15 and 30 minutes after the webinar, you will receive an email with all the links and information. Everything that came up on the screen tonight, in terms of information, details of the course, etc., will all be in the email that will be sent to you. Okay. Good. Robbie, I don't know, I'm going to ask you one day where the Harper marks came in.
Robbie says, thank you, I'm in, I have to go now and we'll sign up a bit later.
Lovely. Okay, so remember the deadline is Monday, which will be 12 midnight, let's say 12 midnight on the west coast of the United States. So that will give that'll give enough time for everyone to work it all out, go and hock your watch, buy this course. This is a one-time offer. By the way, the other courses are longer and they will probably be more expensive than this one. So this is an easy entry for all of you. And as Chris asked and was answered, if you need to do it over installments, we will be able to work out a plan. All right. Okay, everybody. Bye. Nice to see you all. Look after yourselves. Have a wonderful weekend. And we'll look forward to seeing you again in future courses, in future webinars, and in the Q&As. All right.